Welcome to Formula Drift Insider. I am your host, Ryan Sage. On this week's show, we digest the latest round of Formula Drift from New Jersey, and we go behind the scenes with the voice of Formula Drift, Jarod Deanda. Wall Stadium is a very polarizing track for both drivers and fans. They either love it or they hate it. One thing for certain is that FD events held at this banked monster are always memorable. As the judges have adjusted criteria, and with the tire to weight ratios playing a factor, the battles have literally been the closest in the history of the sport. We're now going to dive into some of the more discussed matchups and also go into the minds of the judges as they made their calls. For those not up to speed on how the judging criteria has shifted this year, it might be important to give everyone the general idea. It should be pointed out that in tandem, the lead driver's only responsibility is to run as close to a 100-point qualifying run as possible. In every way he does not, he's getting deductions. The chase driver is to go wherever the lead car goes, even if he's on a poor line. In every way he does not chase the lead, he's getting deductions. Proximity has become a big emphasis this year, as well as a difference on gaining and maintaining proximity, which simply states that to gain proximity, there is less negative judgment on the chase driver if he takes a lower line or shallows up his angle to achieve proximity. However, once the chase driver is within proximity, any mistakes will result in more negative judgment to the chase driver. At this event, the judges were also making drivers use a consistent entry for every lead driver. That means the type of initiation and the general entry speed had to be the same. Not doing so is considered to be a major correction. With that in mind, our first battle to highlight was in the round of 16, pitting Reese Millen versus Daijiro Yoshihara. On the first run, Dai initiates on the bank with Reese just a car length back and on the same line as Reese. But as Reese transitions off the bank, he accelerates very quickly and in a straight line, making contact with Dai. Reese quickly gets back into form and now has excellent proximity as he pretty much mirrors Dai the rest of the way through the course, but then makes contact with him again as they cross the finish line. On the next run, Reese lightly takes out the first inner clip and Dai had good proximity, but not as good as Reese's in the previous run. However, Dai was pretty flawless the rest of his chase. It sounded like the fans wanted to see the run one more time, but the judges voted unanimously in favor of Dai on the basis of near perfect chase run with good proximity and the transition from Reese that led to him straightening, accelerating, and hitting Dai in run one and then making contact again at the finish line. Our next battle was just messy on and off the track. I'm referring to Chelsea Denofa and Tyler McQuarrie. On the first run, Chelsea had an issue on initiation, which was a key area for the judges as the lead car. The error affects Tyler and he makes adjustments. For the rest of the run, it's basically Tyler trying to get back on point with Chelsea, showing some really good angle and general consistency. But it was the initiation that would come back to haunt Chelsea. On the next run, Tyler would initiate low, but on a line that sucked his vehicle rear bumper into the guardrail. He would then roll about 30 feet. Meanwhile, Chelsea starts on a high line, but then initiates immediately goes low, and the next thing we know, Chelsea is being sucked up the bank, makes contact with the guardrail after the initial point where Tyler smacked, and then he slams in the back of Tyler as Tyler's car was coming down from the rail. It was absolutely insane. At this point, it would be logically consistent to assume that Chelsea crashed because Tyler crashed. Well, after reviewing the replay over and over, the judges felt that the two wrecks were independent of each other. And if that were the case, then both drivers received a 0 on run 2, and so run number 1 becomes the deciding factor. And for that, because of the massive deduction for the botched or changed initiation by Chelsea on run 1, Tyler McQuarrie won the battle. Sadly, the result of this battle was not reported as it was actually called. Even though it was communicated clearly, people thought the judges gave the win to Tyler because Chelsea crashed behind him. This could not have been farther from the truth. The judges saw the two wrecks as independent of each other, and so therefore the winner of run 1 takes the win. Adding credibility to the judges' call on the independent wrecks was Chelsea telling Tyler himself publicly that he would have crashed regardless of whether Tyler crashed or not. Chelsea still feels that he should have won based on the first run, but it was pretty clear how the judges came to their decision. Okay, now we get into what I consider to be the most controversial run of the weekend, between Daigo Saito and Conrad Grunwald. If you remember, these guys already have a history going 2-1 more times in West Palm Beach, and it did not stop there, as in the very first run, Daigo does what he does best in the chase, stay on proximity. However, to do so, he straightens and center lines the first inside clip off the bank, and then runs what appears to be 4 tires off when he stays inside Conrad's line to inner clip number 2. The rest of the run is pretty safe, but those two big mistakes seem to put Daigo at a big deficit. The next run was pretty much Daigo running away, with Conrad only able to give chase in certain areas of the track. So now we have a situation where Daigo and the chase made very clear errors to gain proximity, and then a relatively inconsequential chase by Conrad where there wasn't much proximity at all. What weighs more? Well, the judges could not decide. One judge went one more time, one went with Conrad, and one with Daigo. To be completely honest, I think Daigo going 4 tires off should be considered a 0. So unless Conrad's run was considered a 0 as well, it's hard to see how Conrad doesn't win this battle. Since all 3 of the judges scored this differently, perhaps it needs to be more clear what is acceptable in the chase position to gain proximity. Daigo would go on to win the next battle. Now as we move on to the final rounds, there are just 4 drivers left: Vaughn Gittin Jr., Daijiro Yoshihara, Daigo Saito, and Chris Forsberg. Up first, it's Forsberg and Gittin. Vaughn, who made friends with the wall earlier in the event, is not even phased as he rides the upper part of the bank on his lead run and then runs a near perfect line with great angle on transitions. Forsberg, for the most part, stays within decent proximity, but it was in the follow-up that Vaughn showed his chase skills as he mirrored Chris and was almost wheel-to-wheel with him at some points in the run. Chris relented at the end and straightened across the finish line to give Vaughn the win and a trip to his first finals of 2012. Next, we saw Yoshihara and Saito duke it out to a one more time, and then Dai finally gets the best of Saito with a bit more consistency. Daigo was always good on proximity, but just had a harder time initiating drift and then takes out a few clips in the chase and the lead runs. So we have Vaughn and Dai in the finals, and Saito and Forsberg for third. First, we go to Saito and Forsberg for third place. On the lead run, Chris Forsberg looks solid on the bank and comes down very well on transition. Daigo, on the other hand, struggles on the exit to the bank, shoots long of the clip, and then has too much momentum as he hits Chris on the inner bank. Daigo straightens and then gets back on throttle to finish the run, losing proximity to Chris. Advantage Forsberg. The next run, Daigo stays very high on the bank, but again has an issue on transition as he takes out the cone. Forsberg stays with him, good proximity, and starts to really pour it on in the last turn when all of a sudden we see what appears to be Chris surge and make contact with Daigo, and then Chris spins. So now we have a situation where a chase car has made contact with the lead car. Well, what does that mean? Well, unless Daigo made an error, Chris would be at fault. So did Daigo make an error? Well, in real time, with an untrained eye, no, it does not look like he made a mistake. But upon multiple replays, in fast and slow motion, and soloing out the audio from Daigo's car, the judges ascertained that Daigo let off throttle in an area where he should be on throttle. Through the replay, we could see that there was a punctuation in Daigo's smoke line, and you could hear his engine cut down. In Formula Drift, with lots of emphasis on proximity, the chase driver is so close that if the lead makes a mistake, the chase has nowhere to go. So that is why in this case, with Daigo making a driving error, Chris received the win. Like it or not, if you ask drivers to go wheel to wheel, the judges believe we need to take into account any errors made by the lead driver. And in this case, Daigo made the mistake that caused contact. Chris gets third place by unanimous decision. If you like proximity, you should like these rules. If you don't care for proximity, then you might be at a philosophical odds with Formula Drift's criteria. For the most part, door-to-door action is the most exciting part of Formula Drift. Okay, so now to the finals. Vaughn Gittin Jr. versus Daijiro Yoshihara. In the first run, Daijiro makes a huge mistake on the last inner oval, and even though Vaughn almost spins on the second run, he maxed out his angle, held drift, and got a pretty decisive and unanimous victory at what was probably the craziest, wildest, and most insane Formula Drift of the year. I have personally never seen drifting this close or this hard to call, and by all considerations, we are watching another incredible season at hand. One guy who has seen every season, every run, and every tandem battle is none other than friend and voice of Formula Drift, Jarod Deanda. We check out just exactly what this man does come every weekend at Formula Drift events.
My name's Jarod Deanda. Some people know me as J-Rod. I'm 33 years old. This is the 9th year I'll be announcing Formula Drift and emceeing events. I was a kid that read aloud in class. I'd raise my hand and read aloud, and now I'm doing it for a living. So who'd have thunk? And as I say, you know, actions speak louder than words. I just like to put an exclamation point on it. When it comes like head to head, it's go time. Like for me, I gotta get ramped up. I gotta get excited, you know? So like, I get pumped. Jarod Urban Dictionary. Gangster, in reference to letting it all hang out.
Matt Powell's getting gangster. He knows he needs to let it all hang out.
Door to door, nice.
Already, door to door.
That is in reference to literally the cars are door to door, depending on how you look at them. Wheel to wheel.
Symbolic, wheel to wheel, door to door.
Gave him the old Houdini tow hook. Putting the old tow hook on him. Send it. Oh, doctor. Reeling him in is, you know, the car's out there and you just see the car gaining on him and he's reeling him in. And he gets closer and he's just right there. So you could almost like send it, throwing it in gangster, door to door, backing off. He's playing catch up, reeling him in, throws out the tow hook. We got the Houdini, mashes the throttle, and then the good old fashioned woo! Like,
you owe me money for that. It's a violation of copyright infringement.
Everybody always asks, like, do you have it written down or what? I mean, everything's in my head. I mean, literally, only thing that changes or I'll put in my phone or our sponsors or anything that's pertinent to that particular event. It's all off the top of my dome. But sometimes I messes up. Those drivers' insight as we the action is going to be action. Title 5. Gun. I have a great opportunity to travel the world, see and hang out with some of my best friends, get to see sick cars. I mean, you know, I'm in front of a camera. Dude, I'm definitely fortunate.
Well, that is it for another adventure here at Formula Drift Insider. For a look at what's next, we send you off to professional hot chick and hand-cooked tire model, Vivian Nguyen.
Thanks, Ryan. Do you remember the confrontation between Justin Pollock and Daigo Saito in Palm Beach? In the next episode, we'll do an insider retrospective with both drivers as well as their peers about the infamous event. We'll also talk to Jun Ming and get his feelings about being dropped from Bergen-Holtz Racing. As always, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you'd like to contact us about the show directly, you can email us at insider@formulad.com. And you can find me on my fan page or at all Formula Drift events. Till next time.